Perfect. So to start it off, we wanted to let you know why we wanted to start this webinar. This is one of the first webinars that we've started doing, and it's to provide you with, as dairy producers, with information that we're noticing is coming a lot of common questions we get on the farm, to help get that information out to you. And sometimes it's just a nice one-on-one conversation. That's the best way to get that information out. So we wanted to focus on the main points of conversation, such as event reporting. So to understand all the different options that you have for event reporting, provide the tips and tricks to make it a lot easier, the best ways to use our system. So there will be a focus on using the portal. So today's agenda, as it mentioned, we have 4 different speakers. We'll be looking at kind of why we're doing traceability, looking at DairyTrace, who's involved, is just overview of that structure a little bit to have a better idea of how DairyTrace fits in, as well as going into specific details on event reporting for traceability, proactive requirements, options, the best ways to report, along with a live demo of the portal, and kind of closing off with a tip of the week and a little bit time for questions and discussions. So to start off with why traceability, it's a very common question that we do get, and it's a very critical part of our dairy industry. So what we've started doing as a kind of communications campaign is talk to farmers, talk to dairy producers, and get their inputs from that. So we've started these producer profiles. If you have already been receiving our e-blasts or have been following our social media, you may have seen a couple pop up there as well, but we have a couple more coming through the works. So just keep your eyes open for our new videos. It's very interesting to get those perspectives from other dairy farmers as well on what they do to incorporate traceability and the importance to them from that. Perfect. So then I'm just going to pass it over to Brian to provide a little bit of a structure of the DairyTrace program.
Thank you, Michaela. As a basis, traceability system includes 3 pillars. The first pillar is identification of the different premises where animals may be located in the across Canada. So these are farms or abattoirs or assembly yards or fairs or shows or any place where animals may mingle or gather and be held. The second pillar is animal identification, which is basically a unique animal identifier for each animal. And both the premises identification and the animal identification pillars have been accomplished in Canada for many, many years, essentially especially animal identification for over 20 years. Animal movement is the third pillar, which tracks the movement of animals with their animal identification from premises to premises, from birth to death. And so this is the animal movement element of it that had not previously been in place before the creation or the implementation of DairyTrace. So with animals and premises and the movement, that encompasses an entire traceability system. Next slide. The way we came to DairyTrace, or DairyTrace came to happen, was in 2016, Dairy Farmers of Canada came to Canadian Dairy Network, which is now part of the partnership within Lactanet, to develop the DairyTrace vision. This was a vision of creating a national traceability system for dairy cattle. In 2017, Lactanet CDN did become the national responsible administrator, or did qualify to be the national responsible administrator for dairy cattle. And we started the process. And over the process of 3 years, we achieved the status in June of 2020, when the Canadian Food Inspection Agency officially recognized Lactanet Canada as the national administrator. And as that administrator, we are responsible for dairy cattle traceability across the country in all provinces. We must therefore follow all of the rules described in Part 15 of Health of Animals regulations. And then in October 2020, DairyTrace and the DairyTrace system was officially launched by Lactanet as our national program for dairy cattle. So who's involved with our model? We have a very dispersed model for DairyTrace, and each of the organizations has its different roles and services. So in the middle is Lactanet being responsible for dairy cattle traceability, but we have received that responsibility from CFIA as the federal authority. As a responsible administrator for dairy, we in parallel have CCIA as the responsible administrator for beef cattle located in Calgary, and Atestra, who's located in Quebec. They're responsible for beef cattle in the province of Quebec. But all dairy cattle are under the responsibility of Lactanet. And then we also have strategic partnerships with Dairy Farmers of Canada because they operate a ProAction traceability module, and Holstein Canada, which helps to offer our customer services as well as tag sales outside of the province of Quebec. So in the province of Quebec, we also have an agreement and a relationship with Atestra that has built all of the DairyTrace database. The database and the data is stored in the Atestra system. It's right beside SimplyTrace, and so we coordinate very well with the Quebec traceability system. And Atestra therefore provides all of our customer services and tag sales in the province of Quebec, parallel to what Holstein Canada does in the other 9 provinces. Next. Thank you.
We now invite Melissa to join and share a little bit about ProAction.
Thanks, Mikhail and Brian. So I'll do a really high-level review of the traceability module of ProAction, and I think it's very important because these requirements under the ProAction is also leading to that partnership we have with DairyTrace, since all the reported events are sent to DairyTrace. So next slide.
I'm sorry, Melissa, I'm going to have to interrupt because I have people wondering how to see the French presentation.
Perfect.
I'm not sure I can explain it to them via chat.
Sorry, Mr. Brian. Can I say it?
In French, please. Yes.
Oui, juste en haut pour les personnes qui vont voir.
This is Abbas, a technician who is simply explaining how to see the French presentation. You have an option at the top of the screen, and you simply click on it and choose French slides. Thank you, Mohammed.
So I'm sorry.
Yes, thank you.
Just finished at this whole timeline. So the traceability journey started in September 2015. We took 2 years to develop it with a technical committee led by farmers, and it was officially implemented in September 2017. And since then, it's part of your ProAction validation. There are 8 requirements since September 2017 that have been validated. So you went through at least 2 cycles of it. Next one, please. In a nutshell, the 8 requirements can be recapped this way. So you need to have your premises identification number of 7-digit. And good job, we can put a green check beside this box. All dairy licensed producers have their premises ID. We were one of the first commodity group to reach that level. For animal ID, kudos too. It's done. We're all tagging our dairy animals at birth within 7 days of birth with a RFID chip, with the visual panel, with the DairyTrace logo on it, bearing the same 15-digit number following an international ISO standard. So it's like your social license number, your social number, I mean, and it's for your animals, and it's 15-digit. And after we are reporting all the dairy events, the traceability events. So if your calf is born, you're activating your tags. If you're receiving an animal, you're reporting these events in DairyTrace. Same thing if you're disposing your dead animal on site at your farm, you need to record and report. If you're a producer in Quebec, you're sending all these information, of course, in SimplyTrace. In the rest of Canada, DairyTrace. What's nice, and sometimes we tend to forget, is that 15 unique number is really like centralized and foundational to ProAction, since all your information are collected and linked to that number, for example, your treatment records. So it's really the cement or the glue between all the modules of ProAction. It's pretty powerful. And we'll talk about the link with DairyTrace in a second. Thanks, Michaela. So this little diagram, you probably saw it since 2017. It's been a fact sheet that was pretty used a lot to communicate the why and the how of traceability. Of course, ProAction is covering number 1 and 2 in that diagram. So if you need to be a dairy farm to have a validation of ProAction, so the farm of origin is where your animals will be born. So if we recap, you need to have your premises ID, order and apply tags at birth, report tag application, and record and report movement. So if you're closed herd, it's not for you. And if you're using a rendering services, you don't have to record and report tag retirement. If you're another dairy farm buying an animal, number 2, same thing, you need to have your PID and report move in. Janice will go in detail, but it's just to show you it's a full chain traceability, whereas we're as strong as our weakest link. So this is why everywhere the dairy animal will go, we need to do a traceability event. So the federal reg just got published to be amended, and the auction abattoirs will have a role to play and also to report these data to the centralized database. So here's the link between ProAction and DairyTrace. If you look at the bottom left side, you see the centralization of the data. This is where you're pushing your information, and it's DairyTrace for dairy. So number 1 and 2, when they're reporting events, it will be to DairyTrace. And so the federal reg mixed with the ProAction requirements is basically the rules for collecting and centralizing the data in DairyTrace. So the next one. So again, ProAction only for number 1 and 2. If you're an auction and abattoir, you'll be under the CFIA traceability regulation. Next one. Thank you. So in a nutshell, if you want to go through that, there's quick tips and fact sheet on the website you're seeing on the slide. And but the one that is really useful, I find, is the quick tips. It's the frequency, type of data to report, and the requirements. And I think Janice will review each of them with you and how it looks like in DairyTrace. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Melissa. And Janice, I'll let you take over.
Welcome, everyone. So we're the customer service team. So if you're reaching out to us by either phone or email, we're here to help you in any way. So I'll explain the event report types. So the tagging events, movement events, and retirement events. And so we have our reporting timelines. So to summarize, we have most of the events need to be reported within 7 days. I'll go into these a little bit more detail on the next few slides, but dairy farmers must report within 45 days the tagging and birth of animals on their premise, but it must be recorded within those 7 days. So for ProAction reporting requirements, we have tag activation. So that's the identification and movement and location information, including tag retirement, must be reported to DairyTrace. Tag activation for all newborn animals, male and female, includes the premise ID, the 15-digit ear tag ID, and the animal's date of birth are required. All calves are tagged and recorded on farm, like I said earlier, with the 7 days or before the animal leaves the farm of origin. And that's really important. So just make sure that you're reporting that to DairyTrace before it leaves the farm. We need to know that birth date if it happens to be leaving earlier. Tags must be reported to DairyTrace within that 45 days of birth or before the animal leaves the farm. One way to keep track of all these births are your tags come with the stickers of those animals with the numbers, and so that's a really good way to keep track of those tag IDs. Pro-action requirements for tag reissue and tag cross-reference. So it seems to be a little bit of confusion between the two different ones. So tag reissue is when an animal loses a tag, the same tag number can be ordered and reissued tag applied. So DairyTrace will automatically report that. So that's when you're calling in to order those or ordering them online, an reissued tag. For a tag cross-reference, when an animal loses an RFID tag and needs a new one immediately. So a new tag can be applied from your farm's supply, and the tag reference must be reported to DairyTrace within 7 days. The tag replacement is a little bit different than the tag cross-reference. So if the previous animal ID number is unknown, so you have an animal that's on your farm and you don't know what that number was, you can not report it as a cross-reference, or you would then report it as a replacement or a tag activation on that animal. Pro-action reporting requirements for move-in. So when a dairy animal arrives at your dairy farm, you must report that to DairyTrace, including your 15-digit ID number, the date of the arrival, the premise ID of your farm and of the departure location, and the license plate info of the transport vehicle. And then that needs to be reported to us within 7 days of arrival or before the next departure, whichever comes first. Pro-action reporting requirements, moving examples. So you take an animal to a show, a fair, and then you bring her back home. You must report that you brought that animal back home, because that fair is going to report that move into their location. So you want that animal back to in your inventory. Or if your heifer is raised at another farm and returns home, in each scenario, it is your responsibility to report when the animal moves back in. When an animal is imported from another country, it will not have a Canadian recognized premise ID from the other country. So you will need an official 840 tag ID of the animal, the address from where the animal departed from, and the vehicle trailer license plate number for the import. Move-outs are recommended. It is recommended good practice to record any move-outs for your own internal records and to report those move-out events to DairyTrace. Why? Reporting animals no longer on your premises means that those animals will no longer appear in your DairyTrace account. And it just helps to keep your inventory cleaned up. Reporting move-outs helps ensure full traceability of that animal in the DairyTrace system, and therefore the traceback ability in the event of a disease outbreak. If you go into your DairyTrace inventory and you're seeing that there's animals in there that aren't in your herd anymore, reach out to us and we can help you get that cleaned up. So tag retirement, this is when animals are disposed of on the farm. Tag retirement must be recorded on farm and reported to DairyTrace within 7 days. When animals are disposed of on the farm, it is highly recommended to report a move out. So like if you have dead stock, picking it up or whatever, report it as a move out, and then that'll remove that animal from your DairyTrace account. The renderer will report the tag retirement. So reporting tag retirements just confirms that the animal, that's when the animal has died and composted on your farm, perhaps. It confirms that the animal has died, and it confirms that it no longer needs to remain active in the traceability system and saves response time during an emergency. Export is when exporting an animal to a destination outside of Canada. The movement must be recorded and reported to DairyTrace, and this includes the address where the animals are being exported to and the vehicle trailer license plate number. So we have many different ways to report to DairyTrace, and what is your best option for your farm? So through DairyTrace, you can report all your events directly through DairyTrace. We have the online portal. We have the mobile app, which was just recently updated. You can give us a call at customer service or email us at customer service, fax us, and we will do reporting that way. Or we do have an Excel file upload, so that reports all your traceability events through DairyTrace online, and it just is a quick and easy way, and we're here again to help you at our customer service. Next way would be through herd management software. You report all your traceability events to DairyTrace through your herd management software. Many people find this very beneficial. Just ensure that your whatever computer software you're using, make sure it's linked to DairyTrace and that all your reports are getting uploaded into DairyTrace. The on-farm software that are currently linked are DairyComp, Lacti, and Uniform Agri. We have Holstein Canada. So this just assists with reporting for registered animals only. So it reports your tag activations and cross-references. And when you do order your reissued tags, that gets reported automatically. Through your Holstein web account, we do have we can report traceability reporting as well for movement events and tag retirement events, just keeping in mind that we do need the premise ID and the trailer license number for those movements. And LactaNet field staff. So in Atlantic Canada, LactaNet field staff can submit traceability events on your behalf. Electronic registration files for registered animals only will come through LactaNet to be registered for those tag activation bursts in the rest of the country. But it is the farmer's responsibility to ensure that the events are being submitted and are on time.
Perfect. Thank you, Janice. I think that goes through that reporting methods guide. So we just wanted to go through that guide with you to help view and visualize. There's a lot of different options, and some options may not be able to take care of all of the reporting that you need to do. So we did send out a copy of this reporting methods guide in the milk producer publication in December that went out. It is available on our website as well, or if you need a copy emailed or mailed to you, just reach out to our customer service. It is a really great resource to identify what options you do use and identify the kind of sections of what can be done for you and what you need to be working on yourself. And depending on your farm as well, you may not have to report every single event type if it doesn't occur on the farm. So it's a very specific option. What's your best option is kind of our campaign on that. As we know, dairy farms across the country are very diverse and no one operates the same. So we have a lot of different options. Just make sure that you're using the best option for yourself and that what you think is being reported is actually being reported for you. So we just wanted to touch base a little bit quickly on reporting in Quebec. So that reporting methods guide was for options available outside of Quebec. Dairy producers in Quebec continue to report through DairyTrace, their traceability system that's been in play for over 20 years. And DairyTrace links with us at DairyTrace, as we are the national traceability program across Canada. And just as Holstein Canada provides the customer service and tag sales for those outside of Quebec, Attestra will continue to do the tag sales as well and customer services for any questions there. So any dairy producers in Quebec for questions on traceability would be redirected to the Attestra team to assist them with their questions. So as we look through a bunch of different options, we thought we'd share the different events that have been reported in 2022. So We did receive a large amount of events reported throughout a whole year, and they're used various functionalities by different farmers across the country. So we do have a large chunk that use that on-farm software as kind of a seamless reporting tool. And then we have, you can see Holstein Canada with every animal that's registered. Those registrations are coming through. So 16% of activations are automatically done for those who use that service. Just make sure that if you're relying on registering animals, that you're registering them at closer to that 45 days rather than the time frame for lower price points. We also do have a link up with CCI, as Brian mentioned, as all of those death events are coming and being reported from the abattoirs and such. And then we have kind of the focus of this webinar, and our live demo is for those who use our web portal through customer services and the mobile app, to focus on the best ways to assist ease of reporting for you, as there is a good chunk that use our web portal directly or the mobile app as we go. Perfect. So I just wanted to do a quick outline on the live demo. I find the best way to kind of assist and show is to walk through the best ways to use the little hints and tricks of our system there. So I wanted to go through to report a couple different types of events to show you how to best do it, how to find premise IDs, as well as how to view and edit events. Sometimes we make mistakes or we're not sure what has been reported last. And just a quick review of our Excel file upload and how to find your per-action validation reports. So these next couple slides, I'm just going to go over a couple improvements that we've done and highlight what we'll touch base on, and then we'll go through the demo here. So we have been hard at work since we launched the DairyTrace portal and program in October 2020. And we've been making improvements from the feedback that we've been hearing from you, the producers. So a lot of the changes, one of the big changes was adding that herd management number to anywhere you see that 15-digit. We started with just that 15-digit number, but added that herd number to make it easier for you to identify the tags and work with the tags in your account there. We've also added transaction numbers for your own documentation and recording, access to that premise ID address book right when you're doing events where you need that quick access to it. We've also created a birth date certificate download if you need a proof of age verification for animals. The Excel mass upload was created in addition to feedback that we received as well for large amounts of event reporting in kind of one batch. And then we have created a little announcement features when you do log in to help share some information. Some of you may have seen the invite to this webinar when you logged into the portal as well, so just to share information as we go. So we have been working hard, and we will continue to as well. A lot of the improvements came from the survey we sent out last summer. We received a lot of responses and your thoughts of improvements and fixes and things that you would like to see, which also kind of created the need for this webinar, as a lot of things you wanted we already had in place. So we want to be able to share that with you. So I will just be going over quickly how to do some tag activation birth events, how to do a move-in as well, because it's a little bit more complicated. There's a couple extra fields needed. And then do a little bit of how to find a public premises search for you. So if you're having difficulties getting those premises for those move-ins. And how to view and edit events in the portal as well. And then we'll finish up with finding your validation report. So you have it accessible, you have a validation coming up, or you just want to check to see your current status to keep up with your recording. Right. Perfect. So I'm just in a staging environment here for test, kind of not in live production, just to give us a feel of what it looks like as we go through. So this is right when we log in, there's that login page to the DairyTrace portal. It brings you right to this kind of welcome page as we go. So just a couple things to note, a couple handy tips on this welcome page. First of all is right up here in the right-hand corner, we added this little note of what your username is. as if you find you're logging into your account, you always have to keep resetting your password. It might be because the username is not what you think it is. So the next time that you do log in, just take a look at what that username is and refresh you, because if everyone's the same as me, we have so many usernames and passwords nowadays, we understand it's hard to remember them all. So we've added that there to help just give you a gentle memory jog of that information to make it easier moving forward for you. In addition, we've placed everything that you should need quick access to right here on this welcome page. So on this kind of box of quick links. So the main one is to view events submitted. We can submit an event right here. We can see the report, which we'll go into. So anything in this box you can also find along the top menu options, but these are kind of the quick access points. So when we go through, I'll be using some of these as well as some of the main menu options as well. And then of course we have our DairyTrace Help Center. So we mentioned we have a bunch of resources available. So this will give you straight access to our website with all of those resources through there. So if you have any questions while you're in, you can click that and it will bring you to all of the helpful tips. Perfect. So first I wanted to start, before we go into event reports, I want to start taking a look at your premises. So we do have a premises option here, and we have premises in our address book, vehicles in our address book, and a public premises search. So if there are certain premises that you use quite often on a regular basis, it might be beneficial to kind of add them into your address book so that the system recognizes them and they're quick, easily accessible for you when you have to report on them next. So you don't have to worry about looking through all the sticky notes on your desk. It'll all be here. So for an example, if I wanted to add a premise into my address book, so I have it available, I would just go into create. I would type in the PID premises that I have, and I can add a description so I know who it's linked to. And then hit save. So then we can see now it's here. If anything I have to report on, I need to know what that premise ID is for Janice's farm, I can go and it's already linked to my account. Nice and easy in one spot. Now we can also do this with vehicles as well for those license plates. License plates to be used for either the truck or the trailer for that mode of transportation the animal is going on. So if there is a neighbor that always uses the same truck or trailer, instead of me having to remember it all the time or find it written down in my notes, I can do that. Create. We always need that province or state and the license plate number here. And I could give it a name as well. It could even be my own farm trailer linked in that. And I can save, and once again we can see that it's indicated and ready to go here. So we'll see how that links up with event reporting as we go through. So we have address books that we are putting information into, but there's also the step of finding a premise IDs. So we do have available, it's called a public premises search. Now, when everyone created their online account, created the username and password, you might remember there being a consents management page where it asked everyone if you would like your PID to appear in the public search. I just want to verify that it's not actually publicly available. It's only for DairyTrace users. So those that have created an account and can log in would be able to search it if you yourself authorize that availability for your premise. If you want it completely private, if you hit do not authorize and no one can search for it, they would always just have to contact you for it if there's any movement from your location to somewhere else from that. But for those that have indicated that it's okay to share, our system has like a public premises search for you to be able to go in and do a quick search to see if it's available. So you have it in your records, which then you can add to your address book or report right away on. So for example, we have this public premises search. We can search by two different methods. So we could search by the account information. So if you know the farmer's name or phone number, perhaps. So for example, if I know the phone number, and I hit enter. So that phone number, I know it, and it is linked to these premise IDs here that are linked to certain accounts from that. So it does show you, it'll show you the premise ID and any information that we have linked to it that we have indicated as shareable. So the description and an address that's linked to it as well. So you can always search with contact information, or if you don't really know the specific contact information, you can search by premises information that you have. So you can attempt to look with an address information or the name as well. So for example, if I took an animal to the Royal Fair and needed them to come back, so I wanted to do that move in event, but I don't know what the Royal premise ID is. Let's see, I could search Royal Winter. If you notice here, I put a little asterisk on the end that is a wild card. It's your best friend when using any of the search filters in DairyTrace. So if I don't know the exact spelling, or if it's Royal Winter or Royal Fair, I can put the information that I know with that asterisk, and it will pull up some information linked with that. So here I have the CNE. I want to add this to my address book, so I'm just going to click that green plus sign, and I'm just going to put the Royal and hit save. So now at the top it's going to let me know it's been completed, and now that premise ID is in my address book. Now another quick option is we do have a good amount of fairs, at least in Ontario, and we're working to build up the fairs in our public search as well. So, and we're getting into the show season. So what I would suggest as well, you can click this little blue square. It will open up different type options, so different roles of those premises. And you could hit exhibition and fairgrounds. And you could choose your premise or your province if you'd like to be more specific, and hit search, and it's going to provide you with that list of all of those that apply in that filter search. So if there is a fair you're looking for, that's usually the best way to do it. Otherwise, just start typing in the premises name, the farmer's name that you think it might be, by using premises info or account info to find that information. If nothing is coming up, then it might be because they did not authorize that information to be shareable. So you can always contact customer service for assistance, but if it's not shareable, you'll have to contact that person directly to get that premises information for that reporting. So we did enter that one Royal Fair into our address book. So if I were to go back into premises in my address book, we can now see that it's been added and it is available here from that. So that's a little bit on that kind of premises search filter. Now, if we take a little look at event reporting, usually event reporting, depending on how often it happens on farm, you may not be reporting every single week from that. So you may forget what the last event was reported. So you can either always go back to that welcome page and go to view events submitted, or you can go up to the top here, event reporting, and view events submitted. So this will bring you to the web page to show all of the events that have been reported by you or by any other party. So if Hosting Canada submitted it for you, your on-farm software did, it will show everything that's been done under your account for you. And it'll be the most recent events will be at the top. So we can see here that I've populated some events to show. So most recent one, it was reported on March 16th, the event information, the type, so it was a tag activation. It was reported under my account, at the premise IDs that's linked to it, and then the tag number. And as I mentioned, you'll notice that long 15-digit number because that is the unique code for each animal. And then it also in brackets that herd management number, so you can more easily identify which animal it is. So I can see I've done 7, 8, and 9 of my single bull calf tag series. So then I could know that I had to start at number 10, which would be the next one. Or I can verify here that tag activation was done, and it was done by Holstein Canada. So that was a registered animal 112 was completed as well. So I may need to start at 113, or I need to check to see maybe a registration didn't happen and it's missing here. So this is a great option to see all of your events, to see what's been reported. If you do notice anything in yellow, it just means that something needs to be checked, verified. So if the information on your end is correct, there might be an event that is displacing in the timeline of the animal that doesn't quite match up. So you can reach out to customer services. We also do take a look at these on our end as well and try to fix and realign and make some corrections to make the information as correct as possible. So if you do hear from us just some editing, modification, correction information, that might be why from that. So now that we know what has been reported, in addition, there is a way to edit certain events. So you'll notice on the right-hand side, there's an action column. There's a little kind of pencil. Anytime you see that pencil, it means you have the ability to edit information. So if I notice, okay, I did this birth event, but the birth date is wrong, or I didn't actually tag it on that date, the tag number is wrong, there are certain things that you'd be able to edit yourself right in your account. So just click that edit option and it'll bring you into the account, the event information. Some items you aren't able to change, so you would need to reach out to customer service to assist you on that. But let's say it was actually not a female, this was a male. I can go and change that and hit save, and then the edits will be taken from that. So there is certain things that you can edit and change. Some events you are able to delete. So in case you made a large error and you need to kind of start over on it, some events have a little bit more flexibility than others as well that are received. Perfect. Okay, so now that we know where to start and how to view and edit, we can go into actually reporting an event. So once again, I can go back to that welcome page and it hits submit an event here, or I can take nice and quick at the top, submit an event, that green little plus sign. And then it's going to give us the options. So we'll just take a look at tag activation birth. From us on customer service, there's a lot of really great tips and tricks to make reporting much easier and do it quicker as well, and way to kind of avoid mistakes and data entry. And a lot of this is hard for communication tools from that. This is a really big aspect of when you have tag activations to report. The best thing to note is these kind of three options right in the middle of the screen here. So just before we go into those, you'll notice we do have a bunch of different fields to input information into. That animal identification number, we have a little brackets that say 6 out of 15. So this will show you how many digits have already been inputted so that you know that you are missing digits as you go. So for our dairy tags, it is 15 digits long. So you'll notice now it says 15 out of 15 that I've entered in all the digits I have. If I've typed too many, it will let me know in red as well. So that's just what that means. It's a nice little guide in case you've missed inputting a digit. That 15 out of 15 in black is your little information assistance there. And of course, anytime you see these little calendars, you can type it in manually, or you can pop open that calendar, find that date. With birth dates, it should be within 45 days at maximum. So it's always going to be within, should be a month or so. So nice and easy to switch through that calendar and find that information and put it in. So when you have tag activations and you have several of them to do, tag activations are from tags that have been ordered on your farm and are linked to your account. So what I can do is, if I know I have several heifers to report, before I even go into my tag orders, I can set my defaults. So I know that I tagged all of them the same day. I went around and I tagged them on the 19th. These were all females that I wanted to report, and I can put the breed in here right away as well. and save. So that kind of sets it as ready to go when I add in new animals. So then I can go into my available tags, and it's going to show me a list of all of the tags that are in my inventory, because once I order those dairy tags through DairyTrace, they're automatically linked to my account. So as you can see, I have a list of tags here that are available. In bold, you'll notice those are the herd management numbers, and then we always have that 15-digit number linked to it. It's always in numerical order, so the lowest tag number at the top, working its way through. So these would be my heifer tag series, my dual tags, and you can see I also do have the single white button tags indicated here as well. So for these, because I already set those default fields, I want to activate my tag 101 and 102 and 103. And we can notice that auto filters and populates these numbers right away for me, so I didn't have to manually enter them. In addition, once the numbers are there, you'll see that herd management number appearing again to help give you that double verification of that information. So then all that I have to do is to enter the specific information per animal. So for birth date, I would go in, I know they were tagged on the 18th, the 19th, so I would enter in the information specific to those animals. And if by chance the pre-filtered options are not accurate, I can still easily go and change it, let's say, to Jersey instead from that. So nice, quick, easy. And now if I also have bull calf tags to activate too, you can do multiples at once. So I could go back to my batch fields. If they're not going to be the same, I can clear them off. And I could go in, I've already used those, but I want to add in my bull calves, say number 3 and number 4. And then it's going to populate that information as well. So I can go in and add my information. Male. Now, if I am missing some information, so I'm just going to leave that one blank so we can see. So then I can, once I have everything ready to go, I can also, if I have an extra one to add, I can add it here manually. Any ones to delete, I can delete. And I hit save. So if something is missing or it doesn't quite like something, it will let you know. And it's going to give you this error message and also highlight in yellow. So it will direct you exactly where you need to go to fix that issue there. So I forgot to put my birth date in. So I will go and put that birth date in and hit save. And then it will complete that event for us. Anytime the event's been processed, it will bring you right back to that welcome page and give you a transaction number to let you know that it's been submitted and completed. So if you don't get redirected to this welcome page, then that event report has not been submitted. So just keep that in mind and make sure that you always hit save, because if you cancel and then it doesn't keep a pending version at all from that. So those are tag activations. So really using those My Available tags is a great way to save time, keep accuracy of numbers, and makes it really easy to do a bunch of tags at once, or even one or two, finding the numbers and putting them through. So another event that I wanted to touch base on is a move in event. So once again, we can go to submit an event and move ins. So move ins, because there's different fields required, as Janice outlined. There's a little bit more complexity than there is a tag activation birth event. So we always have our premise ID that's linked to my account. It's the premise ID of arrival because the animals arrived at my premise, is auto-populated for me. And then we have to input the information of where the animal came from. So if I know what the premises number is, I have it noted down, I can just directly start typing it in. It will kind of give me a little heads up of previous ones by chance, or we have this little find premises number right in here. So this will link to both my address book as well as that public premises search that we touched base on before. So if I've added bunch of different premises to my address book. They're all going to show up here. Makes it really nice and easy because I can say, oh yes, it was the Royal Winter Fair, select, and it populates it for me. Or I can go, I don't have it in my address book yet, so I need to search for it. I can do the same search functions as before. So let's see. I can try that phone number. And let's say it was a Halifax Exhibition Center. If I want to use it, I click that green plus sign. It's going to add it to my address book automatically and populate it for me right here. So nice and easy. And then for license plate vehicle information, because I've already put one in my license plate address book, if I know it is that one that I've used, as you see here, it's going to start popping up for me. We can fill it in. Other ways, we can just manually enter what it is manually as well from that. And then because the animals move in, there's no way to go from a list of your current animals on farm, because most of them would be coming in from any direction. So this, you would just have to manually input that animal's tag number. And it's going to give you that herd management number as well, just as a second check to make sure you're typing in the correct one, and that entry information. So today is the 22nd, they came on the 19th. And I can enter the sex, breed information at any time to fill that in and link that to the animal's profile, which will show in my herd inventory lists as well. And save. So kind of some quick tools on those move-ins, especially with those premise IDs. Once you have them in your address book, it makes it a lot easier. We're only buying from several different locations. So once we have those primaries in there, it's quick, easy access from that. So I just wanted to do a quick review on move outs as well. So event type move out, it's always recommended. Has a very similar setup to as move-ins. But however, because move outs are recommended, there's a little bit more flexibility. So if you don't know what the premise ID number is, if it's not in your address book, I'm not sure how to get it, you do have the option to change to address, and you could link that move out to an address instead. So I could enter it manually, but there's also a find an address search. So if I start typing the address, it should pop up, and I can pre-filter populate in the information as I did before. And the system does remember what you've done. So I just started typing, and yes, that's the one that I've used. So it pops up for you and here. Now, because now we're starting with animals from our location leaving, instead of my available tags as appeared with tag activation, we have an animals on farm option. So I could set my default, because I know I have a couple animals that they did all leave at the same time. So they all left on the 20th. And I can go to my animals on farm, and I say it's number 3, number 4 that left, and it will auto-populate all the information. Fill in that date already for me as well, and save. It's kind of, once again, a nice, quick, easy ways to get those move outs in there to help fill in that traceability process. So those are the several events that are kind of the mainly questions that we were getting. If you do have any other questions on any other events, definitely reach out to our customer service. They can do a walkthrough with you as well, but a lot of them are very direct, just as tag activation is as well from that. So always keep your eyes open for those little tips and tricks to find that default fields to make it as easy as possible for you to report on. So I did just want to quickly do an outline on the Excel file upload as well. So if you do have a lot of events to report and you would benefit from the kind of a mass upload option. Up in event reporting, there's submit events with an Excel file. If you're very good to use Excel, we have a template that does have to be used because it has all of our fields specifically indicated. So you could download our template and then populate and fill our template with the information you have. When you save it on your computer, you can upload it and then process it here. So this is one that we've done in the past. It will let you know when it was done, when it was processed, and it will also let you know how many went through and how many failed. So you can identify if you need to go and correct your files to resubmit, so you know if things were processed or not. So that's always available as well. Once again, if you have any questions on that, getting that formatted starting, reach out to customer service to walk you through that. Okay, and then one of the other main questions that we do get is regarding ProAction validation reports. So when you do have your validation coming up for our traceability module section of it, the one thing your validator will ask is to see a ProAction report. So we made it as easy as possible. If you log into your account, it's right here on that welcome page, DairyTrace ProAction report. So if you click that, it's always going to reference the day you request it and show a year in past. So you can't change this reference date, but it's always going to be whenever you request it. Like I said before, you can do it at any time. If you want to check your status, make sure things are being reported, it kind of gives you a snapshot view of the past year. So you can check to see if things are missing. So you can do this at any time, not only when you have a validation coming up, but if you want to just check and see. So then I want to go to download report. Now, depending on your computer system, it'll either start downloading a PDF on the top right-hand corner or the bottom corner here, and it will populate. So once I have this, I can save it to my computer or the device I'm on, or I can print it out right away as well and send it to the validator whenever is needed. So it's easily accessible. Depending on how many events you have, you might have more than one page of documents, but it will show everything. And the most recent events will be at the top. So it does go in chronological order with the reporting date completed. It'll show you all the information that's been linked to those events, the tag numbers, all the data inputted, as well as how it was submitted. So we can see these were done through the web portal with myself with you today, how others were done with the Excel file, and if it was reported through OnForm software would let us know too, just to help you direct on what information maybe is missing. If you were relying on an OnForm software but don't see those events here, that's a good indicator to reach out and check to see your settings with that software to make sure that it is submitting, or it needs to be set up to automatically schedule and set up from that. So it's always a really good check to pop open this validation report to see your status of your account as well from that. I believe you should be looking at that presentation PowerPoint again. Right. So we did a quick review on our website portal as well. Even if you're not using the portal for day-to-day reporting, it is always really great to understand how to work around and use it to check your status, to check your event reports, and that ProAction validation report as well. But we also do have our DairyTrace app that is kind of linked with the portal, and we've been working really hard on improving it as well. So as you can see from our previous slides, there is about 4% of events being reported, which is equal to thousands and thousands. So a portal is being used. It's a nice benefit for those who want to report as you go. If you're in the tractor, in the barn, and you want to do it right in that moment, you can do it with internet or without connection, and then later submit it through once you're able to connect. So if you don't always have internet in the barn, it's a nice, easy tool for that. And from the survey from last year, a lot of feedback that we received, we went through a whole kind of revamp of that mobile app, and we launched a new version at the end of January. So if you started to try the app but it didn't work for you, we do invite you to try it again if you'd like, that convenience of it on the go, because we've improved messenger guidance to let you kind of walk you through the steps a little easier, a lot more visual buttons, easy to read and use. The calendar function now appears in a larger format for you to on Android or iPhone use. And you do have the ability to reset your password right on that login page as well. As we know, that was a common question when you're trying to get into the app later on from that. And for those that have added premise IDs into your address book on the portal, those premise IDs will be linked to your app as well. So if you have a move in or move out to report, you can choose from your list of PIDs on your address book, which is really helpful, especially if you're on the go. You may not always have your notebook records to look through to report those. So we do invite you to maybe take another look at that app and see if it'll work for you as well. So if you do want to retry it, if you do have it downloaded already, but haven't looked at it since January, I probably would be best to uninstall and then reinstall it, either in the Google Play Store or the App Store, depending on if you're iPhone or Android. And you will have to log into your account and can start reporting from that way. If you do receive our e-blasts, on our February 28th e-blast, we did include a little update on it, and there's also a user guide that we linked in there. So you're welcome to open that, and it kind of walks you through different ways to use the app. Or you can call customer service as well to take some time to kind of walk you through the steps. We would love to take that time with you to help you get comfortable with it and understand it as well, to make it as efficient as we can for you. And then just as it is with the portal, you can view your most recent events with the app as well. If you're never sure what the last event you reported is, right on that home page, you'll notice there's a view sent events, and it will show you the most recent one at the top. So nice handy tool if you're going through it, not sure what the last one submitted was. You can always do a quick check and know where to start on the next one from that. So as I mentioned, we do have a lot of helpful documents. We've been working on listening and hearing your concerns with email, phones, as well as those survey results as well, and trying to make it as easy as we can for you by creating FAQ documents, or that reference guide on what to report, what can help you report. We have our app user guides. We've also linked the traceability reference manuals from ProAction as well to kind of link back those requirements, as well as quick tip documents, which outline a lot of what I went through on this demo here, such as those My Available tags, those helpful tips. And then we've just recently started our e-blast campaign, highlighting a lot of the common questions. So we had a lot of information to share with you as we go forward, the common questions and items that we want to share out. We will continue with that. I believe on the e-blast that went out on Tuesday, it was linked to, there was a survey in there. So if you do have any suggestions on what you would like us to focus on, or questions that you would like more assistance on, you can reply to that survey and send that in through, and that will help guide us on how best we can get the information to you as well. Perfect. So I'm just rounding it up with our tip of the week, all things event reporting. We do invite you to take a look at your account, do a little bit of exploring, find ways that you can maybe clean up your account. As Janice mentioned, doing move outs from older animals will help clean that up, keep your animal inventory up to date so it's easier for you to manage, to have those lists as accurate as possible. But if you have any questions, contact customer service. They can work with you to kind of find the best ways to get that account cleaned up as well. And making sure if you have any updates to your contact information, premises information, to send that information over to us so we can keep everything as up to date and accurate as possible. So just as a quick review, a couple of the key takeaways from today is that DairyTrace is Canada's national traceability system. It is run, or the responsible administrator is Lactanet Canada. and it is recognized by CFIA. Holstein Canada is contracted out to do that customer services and the tag sales. So that's with Janice and her team. So we linked the traceability and tags together, so it's a one-stop shop for you. If you have tags or traceability questions, our customer service staff are trained on both to assist you. And just a review on event reports, what reports need to be reported and when, and to understand the differences between them, because we know there's a little bit of confusion between move-outs, on-farm disposals, imports and exports as well. And kind of outlining all the different options that there are to report, and just make sure that the options that you're using are covering all of the events that need to be reported on your farm. So this is, like I said, this was our first webinar to focus on event reporting to make it as easy as possible for you to get those events through and get you ready to go for your validations that come up. So our next webinar, we do have more of a tagging focus, so all things tag related, talking about which animals count for tagging, what tags to use, how to apply them for best retention, any exceptions, and how to kind of manage your tag inventory in DairyTrace as well. And we do have that planned for Wednesday on April 19th. So we'll be very similar process to sign up for that webinar. So we do invite you to join us if you have any questions on that. This one, as well as the upcoming one, will be recorded and available on our website eventually as resources to guide you as well. Allocate about 15 minutes at the end to go through questions there. So I just have our screen up of our customer service contact information. So if you'd like, you can jot down that information and Janice and the team will be able to assist you from that. Okay, and we can open it up to questions. So